Hi guys, welcome back to the JavaScript video series. This is the 11th video in the JavaScript series, and today we're going to take a look at JavaScript objects. JavaScript objects are composite data types that enable you to store values of different data types together. So let's say if you have a string which is first name, and this is a string, right? Let's say the value is Akhil, and you have last name, it's another again a string, and value is Sharma. Then you have age, and the value is 25, which is a number. So there are two strings and one number, and I want a data type, or I want a variable that can hold all these three things together. And JavaScript objects basically help you to do that. So the syntax of a JavaScript object is something like this. So it'll be like var and object name. Let's say my object name is person and is equal to, and then there will be two curly braces, and inside the curly braces basically I'll be writing the definition or the values uh, that this object will contain. So let's say for example it will have the key. So a JavaScript object basically has key value pair, so it will have a key and then have the value Akhil, and it'll have a key again, last name, have a value again Sharma, will have a key again, age, and the value 25. So these two are strings, this is a number again. And now instead of just writing these three things like just like this, we have put them inside an object. So I've defined an object called person. To define an object, you put things inside two curly braces, as I've already mentioned. So this now becomes a JavaScript object. So if I try and print this, I've shown you this in one of the previous videos also, but if I try and print this like this is what happens. You see object. You don't see these values. To access these values, I have to use the dot notation. So I'll have to do it like this: person dot first name. So if you use the dot notation and if you access a key, then you'll be able to read the value of inside that object. So I can now change this. I can say last name, same thing. It's the object name dot key, and then I'll get the value Sharma. And then again is the object, and then I'll put the key, which is age, and I'll see the value 25. That makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Another way to access a value is by using the bracket operator. So I'll put these in. I'll put age in two square brackets, and I'll put two double quotations around it. I'll run it and it'll give me the same exact result, which is 25. So there are two ways of doing it, which is one is this way and the other is this way, and both give you the same result, 25 25. Both of them are working. I hope this makes sense. Now let's see how you can store an array inside an object. So let's say we create an array called favorite movies, and now I can easily store an array here. I can say favorite movies: Inception, Interstellar, and John Wick. And I'll remove this. To access this, all I have to do is save. So this is basically a key, and these are all the values. So as you can see, you can store an array inside an object, and you can access it using object dot key, and you'll see all the values out here. I know we haven't covered arrays in a lot of detail right now. We'll do that in one of the upcoming videos, but I had shared with you how to access a particular value inside an array, right? So if you say 1, then I'll be able to access this value interstellar, because it starts with 0, the index starts with 0, and this is called as the index. So I'll be able to access interstellar. As you can see, I can access interstellar if I say 1 here. So I hope that's clear to you. Now let's see how to embed an object inside an object. So let's say I say here pet. So the person has a pet. The pet is an object, and the pet has a breed. Say Doberman. He has a color, say brown, age 25, but 25 is too much for a dog. Say 4 years. And now you can access the object inside an object. Pet. See, if you say pet person.pet, you'll see object. But if you say pet dot breed, it'll say Doberman. So to access an object inside an object, you say person.pet, and then you can access a key, a value, a key basically inside the object using the dot notation. This is how you do it. And if there was an array inside the object, then you could have something like this. Let's say food, say fish, say chicken, shrimp. And if you wanted to access that, you'd say dot food person dot pet dot food. Sorry, let's say fish, chicken, shrimp. And if I want to access a particular value, like let's say fish, I'll say I'll use the index 0 and I'll access the value fish. So you can see I have an array. I have a array inside an object, and I'm accessing the first value, which is the index of 0, inside that array. I hope this makes sense till now. And now let's talk about object methods. So inside every object, inside any object actually, you can create a method which is basically a function, and that function can return a value. So to define a function or a method inside an object, this is how you approach it. So you say, let's say the function is called as last name, full name. Let's say it's called full name, and it's going to return to me Akhil, which is my first name, plus Sharma, right? That's what I want this to return. So I'll say function, and you've already seen how to define a function, right? You have to put these two round brackets, and then you have to put two curly brackets. Inside the curly brackets, you write the function definition, and here I'll write return. You already know about the return keyword. It returns a value, and I'll say first name plus empty string, which is the space basically, and then last name. Right, so I've defined a function called full name inside my person object. Okay, so how do I access it? I can access it like usually I access first name or last name. I can access it using the dot notation. So let's say I say var x equal to, I'll say person dot full name, and I'll output the value of x. So it won't give us the result that we want. So we want the result to be Akhil Sharma, but this won't give us the result that we want. And I'm sure you already know why this will not happen, but let me show it to you anyways. So it's giving me the actual function, which is return first name plus last name. It's not returning Akhil Sharma, and this is because I have not used round brackets here. So as I've told you in the previous video, you always have to use this round bracket if you are calling a function. And now again it won't run anything. This is because we are assuming that this knows the first name and last name that we're talking about, which is first name and last name. Even though this first name and last name are just above this, but whenever you're defining a function or a method inside an object, you always have to specify and tell JavaScript specifically, explicitly that I'm talking about the first name and last name keys inside this object. So I'll have to use the keyword called this. We'll talk about this much later in one of the upcoming videos as well. But for now, you have to remember that if I want the function to know that I'm talking about the key called first name in this object itself, I have to use the keyword called this. Now when I run this function, it will give me the desired output, which is Akhil Sharma. So I hope you're clear till now. Now what I'll show you is, so as you know, inside person I have another object called pet. So what if I define a function called full name 2, right, inside this object called pet. Right, so I'll say again return this dot first name plus this dot last. So to access this, you know what I have to, say person dot pet dot full name 2, right? And there are close brackets, which basically means I'm calling the function. What do you think will happen now? It will say undefined, undefined. Because even if you are inside this object, you are inside another object which is inside this object, and you've defined a function here, it still won't have access to first name and last name at all. It doesn't have access to it. It will only have access to all the things inside this particular object only. So if I say breed, this dot breed, which is basically inside this object, right, inside the pet object, and I say age, then I won't have any issues. It will work perfectly. So Doberman 4 will have the values for that, but it won't have access to the values here, even if I use the this keyword, right? I hope that makes sense to you. This is basically what I want to show you. I hope it's clear. So I've shown you how objects work, how I've shown you how to write objects within objects, I've shown you how to use methods inside objects, I've shown you how to use arrays inside objects, I've shown you how to use functions inside of an object, and how to make all these things work. So it might be confusing if you're new to programming. It might be a little confusing, but if you just go through this video again, and if you practice all these examples, it'll be very easy for you to understand. Thanks a lot for watching this video. If you're liking the series till now, please subscribe, and see you in the next episode. Thank you.